The entertainment world is no stranger to the complexities of its stars' lives, often masked behind an aura of celebrity, success, and public adoration. But sometimes, hidden behind that veil, there are dark secrets, mysteries that remain unsolved for years, only to be uncovered in ways no one could predict. One such mystery is that of Michael Balzary, a name that may not ring immediate bells to the average person, but for those in the know, it stands for a story shrouded in confusion, speculation, and, ultimately, disappointment. Better known as Flea, Michael Balzary is the bassist for the legendary rock band Red Hot Chili Peppers (RHC), known for his distinctive playing style, vibrant stage presence, and deep connection to the band's legacy. Flea has long been an iconic figure in the music world. Yet, beneath his celebrity, there have always been aspects of his life that remained cloaked in mystery, specifically a series of events and personal choices that had fans, media outlets, and even close friends wondering what was truly going on. In this article, we explore how the Michael Balzary mystery was finally solved, and how the revelation wasn't one of triumphant discovery, but rather one that leaves us with a sense of loss, regret, and uncertainty. The alluring enigma of Michael Balzary. Flea Balzary was born on October 16, 1962, in Melbourne, Australia. Moving to Los Angeles at the age of 5, he quickly became embedded in the city's underground music scene, alongside bandmates Anthony Kiedis, John Frusciante, and Chad Smith. Flea helped form the Red Hot Chili Peppers in 1983. The band's blend of funk, rock, and punk quickly earned them a devoted fanbase and international recognition. Flea's personality matched the intensity of the music. With his electric stage performances and carefree attitude, he became one of the most memorable and unique figures in the rock world. His charisma, complemented by his deep knowledge of jazz, funk, and punk, turned the Peppers into a musical force to be reckoned with. However, beyond the fame, Flea's personal life has always been an enigma. Known for being fiercely private, Flea often deflected questions about his personal experiences and instead focused on the music. Over the years, stories circulated about his relationships, his battles with addiction, and his passionate devotion to social causes. But despite these publicized details, the deeper intricacies of his life remained elusive. By the late 2000s, rumors started to swirl. Friends, former bandmates, and even family members hinted at something darker within Flea's life, something that no one was openly talking about. For years, these rumors hung in the air like an unresolved melody, never quite making sense, but always lingering in the background. The first clue: an unexpected withdrawal in 2009. RHCP announced a hiatus after the band's last major tour. At first, the decision seemed logically a break after decades of relentless touring and recording. However, behind the scenes, Flea's sudden withdrawal from the spotlight seemed more abrupt than expected. He disappeared from public view, and no one knew exactly why. While Kiedis would occasionally give updates about the band's status, Flea became almost entirely silent. The rest of the band, especially guitarist John Frusciante, who was also known for his eccentricities and unpredictable behavior, seemed to be on their own personal journeys. Frusciante had already left the band twice by this point, and Flea's absence seemed to add another layer of intrigue. In interviews from that period, Kiedis would only say that Flea was taking some time to focus on his personal life. The ambiguity of this statement, coupled with Flea's near-complete withdrawal, only intensified the mystery. Was it a spiritual awakening, a midlife crisis, or something far more troubling? The second clue: cryptic social media posts. By 2012, Flea re-emerged somewhat from his self-imposed hiatus, but only in glimpses. His social media presence, which had once been lively, became sparse. His Twitter feed consisted of occasional musings on art, politics, and music, but rarely did he offer any insights into his personal life. However, in 2015, Flea took to his Instagram account to post a series of photos and cryptic messages. Some were philosophical, reflecting on his life and the path he'd taken. Others were darker in tone, suggesting that Flea was grappling with some sort of internal turmoil. One post, in particular, read, "Sometimes I feel like I'm losing my mind, but I'm okay, really." Fans of the Peppers who followed his account began speculating. Was Flea struggling with mental health issues? Had he found peace, or was he on the verge of something more dangerous? Though his posts seemed to suggest he was okay, it was clear that something was off. The revelation, the truth about Flea's struggles in 2020. After more than a decade of intrigue, the mystery surrounding Flea's personal life was finally laid bare, but not in the way anyone would have expected. It began with an interview. In a candid conversation with Rolling Stone, Flea finally opened up about his life behind the scenes. He discussed his struggles with addiction, which, for years, had been only partially acknowledged. It wasn't just the drugs or the alcohol. It was the toll those substances had taken on his body and his mind. Flea shared that for many years, he had been battling what he described as a war inside my head. His addiction had spiraled out of control during the height of RHCP's fame, and the pressures of the industry, combined with his own personal demons, left him in a constant state of confusion and despair. Flea spoke openly about the toll it took on his relationships, particularly with his wife at the time, and the devastating effects it had on his connection to the world around him. But perhaps the most shocking revelation came when he spoke about the period when he disappeared from the public eye in the late 2000s. Flea revealed that during that time, he was deep into a personal crisis. "I didn't know if I would make it out," he said. "I was losing myself. I was losing everything I cared about, and I didn't know who to turn to." Flea admitted that he had sought help and undergone rehabilitation multiple times, but his recovery was neither smooth nor linear. What was perhaps most heartbreaking was Flea's acknowledgement of the toll his addiction had taken on his relationships with his bandmates, his friends, and even his fans. He confessed that during some of RHCP's most iconic tours, he was physically there but mentally checked out. The toll of his addiction, combined with the pressures of fame, had left Flea feeling like a hollow version of himself. The aftermath, a sobering reality in the years following the interview. Flea has continued to advocate for mental health awareness and substance abuse recovery, using his platform to help others who may be experiencing similar struggles. However, the revelation about his internal struggles came as a jarring wake-up call for fans who had seen Flea as larger-than-life someone whose energy and eccentricities seemed unstoppable. While Flea's story ultimately became one of redemption, he eventually got clean and returned to making music, there was a bittersweet quality to it. The mystery had been solved, but the truth was less glamorous than anyone had hoped. Flea was not the invincible rock star many had idolized, but a man with deep, painful flaws. Struggling like anyone else, the music industry, often painted in the brightest of lights, had a way of hiding the darkest truths. Flea's story became a stark reminder of how fame can hide internal turmoil, and how difficult it can be to navigate personal battles while in the public eye. Conclusion: an unsettling resolution. The mystery surrounding Michael Flea Balzary, one of the most celebrated musicians of his generation, was finally solved. But the truth was not the one fans had hoped for. It was a stark reminder that even the brightest stars are not immune to the darkness that exists within. Flea's journey of self-doubt, addiction, and recovery speaks to a broader truth about the human condition, one that challenges the idealization of celebrities and urges us to remember that behind every public persona lies a person, one with their own struggles, fears, and demons. Though Flea is now healthier and more engaged with his music than ever, the mystery of his personal life, once surrounded by intrigue and speculation, has now been replaced by a more painful reality. His story isn't a tragic ending, but it's certainly not the kind of resolution we had hoped for. The mystery is finally solved. But as with many things in life, the answer is often more sobering than we imagined.